What's up, Cheeseheads? Welcome back, and as always, thank you for joining me. My name's Paul Brettel, the site editor over at Dairyland Express, where we cover the Packers, Brewers, Bucks, and Badgers. I also have a new article out every Monday and Friday over at Cheesehead TV. As it says at the bottom of the screen here, you can follow me on Twitter at Paul_Brettel. So here we are. We are getting so close to game day, the Packers versus 49ers NFC Divisional Round matchup. So as we've done for much of the season, we are going to discuss my 5 big things to keep our eyes on as this game unfolds. This is based off an article, 5 Big Questions, over at Dairyland Express. You can find it there. You can find it or the link to that article below as well. So let's not waste any time and dive on in. My first big question, first thing to keep our eyes on is, can this Green Bay Packers defense take advantage of turnover opportunities? Now, through the ups and downs of the season for this defense, there's 2 areas that they've been really good at, even through those ups and downs: generating pressure on the quarterback and creating turnovers. And of course, those pressures have helped generate some of those turnovers as well. Green Bay enters the playoffs or finishes the regular season with 26 total takeaways, which is the 8th most in football, and their 18 interceptions is the 6th most. Again, they've been very opportunistic for the most part when those opportunities have arisen. They'll be up against Jimmy Garoppolo and the 49ers. Now, this is a run-first 49ers team. Jimmy Garoppolo is averaging just under 30 pass attempts a game, which is the 4th fewest in football. And in terms of pushing the ball downfield, well, that's not something he exactly does. He ranks 30th out of 39 eligible quarterbacks and average depth per target. However, even with the run-first style, the more conservative play calling, pass selection that Jimmy makes, he's still shown that he is turnover prone. Jimmy Garoppolo's thrown 12 interceptions this season, and he has an interception rate of 2.7%, which is the 10th highest in football. He's going to be entering Saturday's game, playing in the cold, and he has a bad thumb and a bad shoulder. So we'll have to see how that ends up affecting his throwing ability, again, especially in the cold, which could magnify those issues. But the Green Bay Packers, if they can get pressure on him, or even if they don't, chances are there's going to be an opportunity, or maybe 2, over the course of the game for them to steal a possession, give Aaron Rodgers an extra chance to put points on the board, which is always a good thing. But the question is, as we stated at the beginning of this, can they take advantage of that? It's going to be very crucial that they do if they're given the opportunity. And one little nugget, one little fun fact: the Green Bay Packers are 30-0 during the Matt LaFleur era when they win the turnover battle. As we talked about in our keys to victory, Jimmy G, this Niners offense, they love to utilize the middle of the field with their passing attack. Green Bay needs to do their best to take away as much of those easy passes over the middle as they can, force Jimmy to throw to the boundaries, and I believe that's where some of those turnover opportunities could come. So number 2, the second item to keep our eyes on, we talked about this a little bit during our keys to victory, and it's because it's just such an important aspect of this game: the San Francisco 49ers rushing attack. So a big difference between the last time these 2 teams met, when Green Bay held San Francisco to 3.2 yards per carry that game, is that the Niners have had the emergence of Elijah Mitchell. He's appeared in only 11 games this season, but he's totaled 963 rushing yards on 4.7 yards per carry. He's forced 41 missed tackles, which are the 11th most in football, and his 3.83 yards after contact is the 4th most. In addition to that, since week 10, Deebo Samuel has been introduced as a ball carrier. He's averaging 7 rushing attempts per game, averaging 6.3 yards per carry. So those 2 are going to be, Green Bay didn't see Mitchell and they didn't see Deebo in that capacity the last time these 2 teams met. And as I mentioned already, as you all know, the Niners are a run-first offense. And if they're able to get going on the ground, if they're able to find success, I mean, we've seen what happens before with this Green Bay Packers defense. They're able to control the clock, control time of possession, keep Aaron Rodgers on the sidelines. That's obviously a bad thing. An example of this was the Cleveland Browns game, where Green Bay struggled to make tackles. The Browns averaged almost 9 yards per rush, total 220, 218, somewhere in that ballpark, yards on the ground rushing that game. So that's what happens when they struggle to tackle, the Green Bay defense, when they don't maintain their gap integrity. Those are going to be two absolute keys to this game, not only in the run game, the tackling portion, but in the passing game as well. As I mentioned, Jimmy G is not one to push the ball down the field, but this is still an explosive Niners offense because of Kittle, Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, their ability to pick up yards after the catch. So tackling is going to be absolutely crucial for this Green Bay Packers defense to find success. And when it comes to the run game, tackling and maintaining their gap integrity, the edge rushers, Preston Smith, Rashawn Gary, Zadarius Smith, Whitney Merciless, they've been activated. They need to set strong edges. If they get too aggressive going upfield, it creates a running lane. If they crash too hard at the quarterback, it creates paths to the outside. So they're going to play very important roles. If you go back and watch that San Francisco game the first time, Preston Smith and Rashawn Gary were both very good at that. The interior defenders, the linebackers, they're going to have to make sure that they don't fall too hard for that pre-motion eye candy that we know Kyle Shanahan's going to utilize, and do their best to not over pursue, because again, that's going to create running lanes. The Packers enter this game allowing 4.7 yards per rush during the regular season. That ranks 31st. They rank 28th against the run by DVOA. This is certainly a weak point of the defense. And again, can Kenny Clark get some consistent help inside? Because if he can, that is a potential part of this Niners team that Green Bay can take advantage of, specifically the interior right side of the offensive line. But as we all know, we've unfortunately seen it before. This 49ers rushing attack can be dangerous. So can the Green Bay Packers slow it? They're not going to contain them, or they're not going to stop them, I should say. They're not going to stop them. The Niners, Elijah Mitchell, Deebo Samuel, they're going to find success. They're just that good. But Green Bay needs to make sure that they don't absolutely take the game over and don't control the game on the ground. Next up, can the Packers offense jump off to a fast start? So ironically, one of the few times Green Bay did jump out to a fast start this season was week 3 against San Francisco. They led that game early on, 17-0. However, as we all know, that has not been the norm this season for the Packers offense. They ranked 25th at the end of the regular season in first quarter points scored per game on average. So it's that opening script that I know we've talked about on here before. For whatever reason, the Packers just haven't found the same success with that. In 2019, 2020, they were excellent on those first 15 to 20 plays, the scripted portion of the game. And if you look at this Niners team with Kyle Shanahan, they're excellent on that as well. This Green Bay Packers offense, those first 2-ish or so possessions, their defense, they're going to have to weather that storm, because the Niners have been very effective early on when coming out with that opening script. But in jumping out to a fast start, of course, that benefits the offense. That means the offense is finding success. It means the offense is playing well, and it means the offense is finding success in the red zone, another area that they just have not been as efficient with this season. But in addition to the benefits, the obvious benefits for the offense, it is a tremendous boost for the defense. As we all know, the Packers defense, they've been on a bit of a downward trend to end the season. And the biggest boost that they can get here in the postseason, I don't believe comes from any adjustments that can be made on the defensive side of the ball. Now, that doesn't mean there aren't adjustments to be made, or that they can't play better. They certainly can. But to me, the biggest boost they can receive is from the offense. Having the offense, specifically against a run-heavy Niners team, jump out to a fast start. That's going to, especially as the game goes on, that's going to limit San Francisco's ability to lean on that run game. It's going to put the ball in Jimmy Garoppolo's hands, which is what we want, and it's going to potentially lead to some of those turnover opportunities that we had discussed. Also, if the Green Bay Packers are able to jump out to a fast start, chances are they're controlling the clock. And again, that's going to stress what the Niners can do within their offensive game plan, and ultimately, hopefully, force them to stray away from it. So the Packers, they haven't been at their best in that first quarter. They've been the best in the second quarter and very good in the third quarter. But I would love for them to get out to a fast start against the 49ers on Saturday. Next up, what we'll be looking for, what's the offensive line configuration going to be? So first off, we don't know for certain yet if David Bakhtiari is even going to play. So he took, I believe it was 27 snaps against the Detroit Lions. However, over the last 2 weeks, he's only practiced 3 times, and he's listed as questionable. Now, there's 2 ways we could look at that. We could be concerned because he's only practiced 3 times over the last 2 weeks. Or we could look at it as He's a 4-time All-Pro. Yes, in a perfect world, we want him to practice. We want him to be getting those additional reps. But he's a 4-time All-Pro, and it's not mandatory that a player of David Bakhtiari's skill and caliber is out on the practice field. Perhaps Green Bay is just taking it slow to make sure that he is absolutely 100% ready for Saturday's game. So those are kind of the two outlooks we can have. Ian Rappaport was on Pat McAfee's show Friday afternoon, and he said that he does expect Bakhtiari to play. He's going to go through warmups, and they're going to see how he's feeling at that point. But Rappaport also did add the caveat, excuse me, that he wouldn't bet his life on it either. So there is still certainly some uncertainty with that. But we're going to go under the assumption he's going to play. And if not, we know Yash is going to be the left tackle just as he was previously. But there's a number of other positions along that offensive line to be determined. Who's going to start at center? The Green Bay Packers have to choose from Lucas Patrick and Josh Myers. Ultimately, I think they're going to go with Josh Myers, just as we saw in the Detroit Lions game, but something to be mindful of with Myers. He's certainly shown a lot of promise, a lot of potential. I certainly think the Packers found their center of the foreseeable future, but it's worth noting he only has roughly 4.5 games of NFL experience under his belt, less than 300 total snaps. And going up against a very good 49ers defensive front, there may be a lapse or two, a miscue or two that could cause some issues. We don't know. We'll have to see. But we look at John Runyon or Royce Newman, two other young offensive linemen. They were able to take their lumps over the course of the regular season. Josh Myers, if he experiences any of those lumps, it's going to come under the bright lights of playoff football. So just something to be mindful of, especially against a very good defensive front that San Francisco has. And Eric Armstead has been playing inside rather than at the edge rusher position, and he's been very, very good from there. Now at right guard, the Green Bay Packers have the option to choose from Royce Newman, who's been there all season, or Lucas Patrick. Again, like the Detroit Lions game, I think they're going to go with Lucas Patrick. Newman certainly progressed over the course of the season. And again, he's someone that you look at and you go, all right, he's someone who can start here again for the foreseeable future. But there was still a play or two a game on a blitz, on a stunt, where he absolutely missed his assignment. And the play was blown up in the backfield, or if it wasn't, it's just because the Packers have Aaron Rodgers back there, who in many instances can be a cure-all for that. Lucas Patrick, he was the Packers' primary right guard in 2020, and he performed pretty well there. I know he ranked highly in PFF's run blocking grades and their pass blocking grades as well. So I think they're going to go with the experience and stability that Patrick can provide at right guard. Lastly, right tackle, Dennis Kelly. I mean, Dennis Kelly has stepped in Billy Turner's absence, and he has been very, very good. I think there's definitely the argument to be there that you could start Dennis Kelly because perhaps he's outperformed Billy, but I still think they're going to go with Billy, one, because there's just a larger sample size. This Billy Turner, he went up against, in my opinion, stiffer competition over the course of the season. And Aaron Rodgers, we all know he has a very close relationship with Billy Turner, called him a Pro Bowler, or he should have been a Pro Bowler earlier this season. And I do absolutely think that matters as well. So Dennis Kelly, I think, made this decision probably as hard as he could just because of, again, his high level of play. But I think ultimately they're going to go with Billy Turner at right tackle, where he's been for this season. And I know there's the possibility, or the alternative is on the table, that maybe Kelly stays at right tackle, Turner kicks into right guard. But if you recall, Turner wasn't very good at right guard in 2019. And I know he battled injuries, but if we compared Lucas Patrick's 2020 season at right guard versus Turner's 2019, Patrick was better. And as easy as it is to say, oh, you're just moving from right tackle to right guard, as we all know, there's a lot more to it than that. To our knowledge anyways, he has not practiced there at all this season. So putting him at a position that he hasn't played in 2 years in a playoff game against, a very good defensive front, not sure that that's going to be the recipe for success. Lastly, can the 49ers find a way at all to slow Davante Adams? When we look at Green Bay's path to success on offense, the running game always needs to be a part of it. You can't become one-dimensional, especially against a good defensive front. But I think Green Bay's best path to moving the ball is going to be through the air and attacking those San Francisco cornerbacks, specifically with Davante Adams. Packer Reports Dusty Evely, he also contributes over at Cheesehead TV. He found this good little nugget from Football Outsiders. So the Niners rank 16th this regular season, against the pass. But when defending the opponent's number one receiver, they rank 31st and are giving up an average of 88.1 yards per game. Davante Adams, last few times against the 49ers, he's absolutely torched them. This week 3, he was targeted 18 times, caught 12 of them for 132 yards. In 2020, and again, it was a banged up Niners team, but he caught 10 of 12 passes for 173 yards and a touchdown. A difference between, again, the week 3 Niners and this Niners is that Ambry Thomas, rookie, has emerged and has taken on a much bigger role within that 49ers secondary. So he's someone to watch. But again, it's Aaron Rodgers, it's Davante Adams. Even if the Niners have improved since then, that's still an incredibly tough matchup for them. So I won't be surprised if this turns into a game where Davante Adams gets 15 targets, because again, I think that's going to be Green Bay's best path to moving the ball, with sprinkling the run as well. Again, we cannot get one-dimensional. We've seen that turn very poorly for this Packers offense. But looking at this Niners secondary, if Rodgers has time against that Niners front, I don't know how the cornerbacks are going to be able to contain Davante Adams over the course of the game. So there are my 5 big things to keep our eyes on and to watch for as the game unfolds. You can find all my work at Dairyland Express and Cheesehead TV. Follow me on Twitter at Paul_Brettel. Please like this video, subscribe to the page, the YouTube page. I do greatly appreciate it. And friends, we are almost there. It is almost time for Packers playoff football. I hope you enjoy the day. Again, I appreciate you tuning in. And as always, take care, stay safe, and go Pack Go.